Call the common council meeting to order for March the 3rd. We'll do invocation and pledge. Nathan, you want?
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We pray that we would be able to conduct the city's business and do it in an appropriate way. We thank you for the activities that are happening in our city, and we pray that you would continue to bless the council and the mayor and all our staff. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You want to do roll call?
Councilperson Smith.
Present.
Councilperson Zastabny.
Here.
Councilperson Payne.
Here.
Councilperson Sellers. Here. Council Vice President Gill.
Here.
Councilperson Glover.
Here.
Council President Julius. Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect that all 9 council members are present.
On a snowy night. Good deal. We want to approve the agenda. If there's, I have one addition, unless somebody has a problem.
I have one addition as well.
Okay. I wanted to discuss 10th Street medians. The mayor had said that it needs to come to the council, so I think we need to discuss that, whether we're going to push it to parks, what we're going to do. So we could make that 10 under new business. Mike?
At our parks meeting the other day, we discussed about the 600 block of Riverside Drive and vendors, and the Parks Board at that time voted unanimously to change or add to our ordinance to prohibit vendors in the 600 block.
Well, I don't think it was to change it, it was to put it on the agenda to discuss whether the council wanted to change the...
But it was passed by the Parks
To
Authority.
discuss it, but not to change the ordinance at this time.
Okay.
Discuss whether it's...
So we'll put that under new business as 11.
That's fine.
Thunder. That was thunder related, right, Mike?
Yes.
Anything else? Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve with changes.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Minutes to be approved.
In your packet are the minutes from the February 18th meeting for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Claims. Well, wait a minute. We had minutes from regular council meeting
Riverside
proceeding February 18th.
vendors.
We just
We
did
have,
those.
oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Voted unanimously.
Let's see. Claims?
Requesting approval of claims totaling $1,097,658.40.
Had a question for you, Amy. On page 6, under the parks, it's a Duke bill, energy bill. Does the Little League reimburse us at all for any of the utilities, or does the city bear all the cost of the utilities when the Little League is there?
I believe the Little League is under a separate fund under the 209, the Parks Activities Fund. So I'm not sure what this bill, which line is it?
It's about a third of the way down. It's $410.94.
Okay.
I was just curious.
I can bring that up with Paul and find out.
We pay for it all. We pay for it all? We pay for it all? Okay, thank you.
The motion to approve.
Wait, are we going to move the animal from the lorry?
Any other discussion?
We had some questions about the ammo under the police that had, I know several council people have been discussing it from the Lloyd, and whether or not that should be under Lloyd or come out of their regular funding.
Which item is it?
It's their ammunition,
Oh,
and why is that not being taken out of their normal budget? I don't think we've ever paid for ammunition out of Lloyd before.
do we need to move that to their general fund budget before we cut the checks? Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I'm saying, unless they came to us and asked for a specific reason, but normally it should be in their budget.
Either that or one of the non-reverting funds.
Yeah.
They have several non-reverting it could be pulled from as well.
Okay.
Then I'll withdraw my motion to approve claims as presented then. Nathan, you withdraw your second?
I'll withdraw my second. Make a motion to approve the claims with moving the items that are currently under Lloyd out to wherever the police department determines it out of their fund.
Second. Any other discussion?
So are we not paying that, approving that claim, or
We're approving it, but it needs to come out of their normal budget.
we can't vote to approve it if we don't know where it's coming from?
Out of their supply,
Yes, 300.
yeah, it's 300 line item, it's,
Okay.
Basically, you're doing a motion to basically approve the claim.
right.
It came from the general fund budget.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Amy, annual report.
Yes, we just submitted our annual report to the state last Friday, and I believe I'm supposed to present this to the council before we advertise that, which we hope to do this week. I've put a packet in everyone's spot. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but it's titled Jeffersonville Civil City, Clark County, Indiana Cash Funds Statement. So this just shows where we were at the end of 2013. Total receipts and disbursements throughout the year. And the fifth page of the packet shows debt statement. So this is all of our bonds. Following the bonds, we've got all of our capital lease items that we've reported. And finally, on the last two pages, we have all of our federal grant monies that the city received in 2013.
Do you just present it, or do we need to take action to approve it?
I'm not really sure any action's necessary. You know, Wes?
I think it's a motion, proper motion.
Accept.
Accepting it.
Accepting or acknowledging receipt.
I'll make that motion that we accept the Jeffersonville Civil City, Clark County, Indiana Cash Fund Statement 2013 as being received.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. All right. Report to the clerk.
None at this time.
We have any department heads reporting? You might stay close, Amy. Any department heads? Nope. Let's see. Amy. We'll have a public hearing on ordinance additional appropriations, 2014 OR 5, and I think we did that on first and second reading.
Correct. No changes since the prior approvals.
I think we were waiting for an explanation from Mr. Samuel on public arts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I
Yeah, he's on here anyway, he don't need to be.
Unless anybody else has any questions, I spoke with Mr. Samuel about my questions that I had the last meeting before now, so, and he kind of explained it, walked me through it. And so I'm okay, unless anybody else has anything.
Oh. I thought that said Amy.
Public hearing.
I'm sorry?
Public hearing.
Do we have to close the public hearing?
Yeah, did we open it?
Did you-
Well, we had to open a public hearing, I'm sorry. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing.
Okay, Matt, you're satisfied?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, then I'd make a motion to pass 2014 OR 5, and this will be on the third reading.
A second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go, motion carries.
Thank you.
I'm passing this around for all your all signatures, please. And Mr. President? you
Yes,
need to
ma'am.
sign here and...
I only signed once. All right, Lisa Gill, Josh Rodriguez, JNLA National Night Out.
Josh is going to give us a little report. Remember how he had to submit that report with National Night Out after everything was done?
So we, Josh Rodriguez, chairman for JNLA, we submitted our report, and the numbers, I'm just going to give them to you real quick. There was 16,124 communities in USA and their territories. 37.8 million people participated in National Night Out. We came in 37th place in Category 4 from 15,000 to 40,000 population. So third year in the world, we won the award. So we're going to pass that to you guys. And then there's also some paperwork here. So we do appreciate your support. And there's some JNLA members in the audience if they'd like to stand up.
And we appreciate everything you guys do.
Congratulations, you all do a great job with that every year.
All right. Did you have anything else, Lisa?
Nope, we just wanted the opportunity to inform the council that we did receive that award.
Good deal.
It's great.
Scott Lewis, ordinance on flood hazard areas.
Yes, presented before you tonight, that is presented just for a first reading. This is an ordinance for flood hazard areas, and this is, the purpose of this, there's a requirement that every so many years, FEMA, they redo the flood zone maps for flood zone insurance purposes and other purposes for flood zones. And they recently have been working on new flood zone maps for the city of Jeffersonville and Clark County. And I think that's going to be implemented April of this year, next month. So when the flood maps change, there's a requirement that the local municipal governments implement an ordinance referencing those new flood maps. So this was kind of prepared by one of the consultants for the Drainage Board, and basically a lot of the language is kind of boilerplate from Indianapolis that needs to be in one of these flood hazard area ordinances. The key is that we're acknowledging or accepting the new flood zone maps. And there's some benefit to this because I think there's some people that were not in a flood designated flood zone pursuant to the FEMA maps, and they were unable to get flood insurance. So this will help people now who've kind of been reclassified into certain flood areas that they'll be able to get flood insurance. So there's some benefit to these new flood maps.
And some came out.
And some came out too, so some people that were previously under the old maps that were categorized, where they were required to purchase flood insurance, and they actually were not really in a flood zone, now they will not be required to purchase flood insurance. So it's just an updating from FEMA, and then we just have to implement that at the local level. It's one of the state requirements.
What's the ordinance number, Vicki?
6.
Motion to approve 2014 OR 6 on the first and second reading.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Just one clarification. Scott, I had in my notes, why is it necessary and who requested it? And basically, what I heard was FEMA
FEMA.
is pushing this.
Yeah, FEMA, and they work through the regulatory agencies in Indianapolis, and then Indianapolis comes down to us and says, okay, the maps have been changed, and all the local governments in areas where the flood maps have changed, this is a requirement. It starts with the federal government through the state, down to the local level.
Will we get a copy of that map when it's
It's
finished?
already upstairs.
It's already upstairs, yeah.
It's
Who has
also
it?
a Clark County GIS on their mapping
And
system.
who has the map upstairs?
It's the
I
building
usually get it
commissioner.
from Susan or
Yeah.
Linda.
The building commissioner is actually the flood control
Okay.
person too, so.
Flood management.
Flood
Does
man-
does it show the changes on the map?
Yeah.
Yes, it
Okay.
does. It shows where it used to be and where the new areas are.
Okay.
Areas that are now included and areas that were taken out of the flood zone.
Are there a lot of changes? I mean,
Yeah, well, they took
There's a
quite a
few in
few
mine.
out.
Was it
and
about,
few were
Lisa,
in-
about 100 or so
Yeah,
properties?
I think 100 were
About 100 or so properties.
FEMA, but, and also, you know, this was mandated by FEMA, but it was Christopher Burke, which was the consultant, and he worked very close with Matt Bell, as you all know, is on drainage, and they worked with Andy Crouch, our city engineer, and they also worked with Shane Corbin, which is the director of planning and zoning, but, and very closely with Russ, which he's no longer with us because he was the floodplain manager. So there was a lot of city input into this too.
Did you get a second on that?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. All right, the next one I wanted to bring up was county vehicle service agreement. We talked about this in the last finance meeting that we had, and it's come to our attention. I think what really brought it to light was Bubby came in and said he needed a part-time person, and we were questioning whether we had, and Scott, this will pertain to you a little bit, whether we had a inter-city or interlocal agreement to work on county vehicles. I know Les was in the meeting. It came up for service work, and it also came up for fueling. And we don't know if we have an interlocal agreement for fueling.
Yeah, I'm not aware of it. I mean, that's
Okay.
standard statutory law and standard rules by the State Board of Accounts. When you have two different governmental units
Okay?
that are performing services and exchanging money, that's a requirement that there should
Yeah.
be an interlocal agreement in place.
Well,
And I did verify that with State Board of Accounts. What was that lady's name? Melissa. And also, when she said that since we've got two different things going, we have the fueling, people getting, outside entities getting fuel, and then the maintenance, that we need to have two separate agreements, and everything needs to be spelled out, even with the fueling, what we are charging. Then I know the price fluctuates for the city, but we need to have, I mean, everything has to be named out and specific. And another thing that was recommended, highly recommended, that, of course, Connie and I have been going through all the claims. There's no work orders. There's really not the paperwork other than, you know, the claims that,
for the parts.
yeah, for the parts.
And that's
who
going
it's
through a
from, or what
non-reverting
entity
fund.
or whatever. And so we really need to see some work orders with that too.
Scott, and this needs to be a decision here, whether we charge for labor, but I think we need to have some sort of charge for labor. And we're charging for the parts, but, you know, we need to, it's my opinion, we need to recoup some of the, you know, the man hours and so forth, and our overhead and everything that we're putting into working on the county vehicles. Maybe the county will decide that they don't want us working on their vehicles, I don't know. But I think we need to write up, or if you could draft up for the next meeting, some kind of,
Well, since I also represent the county council, the same situation that came with like the animals, the dog shelter.
Right.
Agreement, I would probably have to recuse myself from negotiating the
Okay.
local agreement. Because I think before we had Jake Elders, the county commissioners, and
Yeah.
Les is the city attorney. Even though the council has to approve it, but since I represent both fiscal bodies, it would be a conflict of interest for me to.
Dennis, I have the question, I don't know why we are doing this.
Well,
Why-
and that's the other question, the other part of it. Do we want to continue or do we want to stop?
Another thing too is liability and, you know, a lot of the equipment we work on is pretty heavy and two things. One is if we, by accident, damage a vehicle or a piece of equipment, we got a liability issue. And number two is if one of our mechanics get hurt by dealing with this, it's going to cost the city because he or she may be off work or whatever for an extended period of time.
I'm not in any way saying I'm leaning one way or the other. The only thing I'm saying is if we're going to continue it, we have to have an interlocal agreement. That's the only thing I'm saying.
And I think, I agree, and I think there needs to be a flat rate. And a discount. I don't think we need to charge what a dealer would charge, obviously, but we need something to recoup our costs. And then when Bubby needs the money to buy a new lift or hire somebody part-time or whatever, that's going to offset that cost.
Sure, that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. So where do we want to go from here? Do we want to continue the service or look into an interlocal agreement, or do we want to stop doing service for the county?
I say we look into an interlocal agreement.
Okay.
What can we do to protect the city now during the process?
I mean, there's a process, I mean, without a written agreement, we say
There is
protect
no
them.
protection.
I mean, unless you have it in writing, you need to protect them from liability, is what you're saying, right?
Protect the city and the mechanics and from liability.
I mean, the only way to protect it is either not to do it or have it, a provision in writing in your local agreement that spells out who's going to be.
Well, and the county's got to buy into this too, Mike.
Do what?
The county's going to have to buy into this too.
I know, but
So-
right now, I think at some point, I think we can get this fixed.
I do too.
But I'm worried about the accountability and the liability.
interim.
Right.
Then we could simply make a phone call to Bubby, to the city garage tomorrow and say,
I mean, I don't know, I just want to make sure that we're
Well,
protected
when I went through the
liable.
claims today, I checked for that because they do both like county. He showed us what they put. I didn't see anything work this past 2 weeks being done for the county. Now, I might have overlooked something, but I tried to look through them all,
Well-
I didn't see anything.
why don't we do this? Until we get an agreement drawn up, we tell Bubby that we can't do any work on the county vehicles and we're working on an agreement that would spell out.
Well, it's just not, well, it's county, but you have to make sure, you're talking about the solid waste.
That's-
There's
all departments.
multiple,
All departments.
yeah, that, I don't know if any of us know exactly what we're working on.
I don't think we do.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah, that's a concern.
So we can get with Scott and figure out who we can get to work on a agreement.
Well,
Okay.
since an interlocal agreement has to be approved by both the executive and the fiscal body,
Mhm.
it makes sense, Les is the executive.
Les, is that something you'd want to work on?
Okay.
Because
Oh, that'd be great.
usually interlocal agreements are initiated by the executive bodies for.
Okay.
The fiscal body approves it, kind of way the statutes and laws. The executives drive interlocal agreements.
What happened until?
It seems from the fueling perspective, I remember when that was part of it. It was a matter of bulk, the larger bulk you purchase, the cheaper the price. And so we kind of locked arms with the county and maybe some others, I'm not exactly sure, which makes sense.
And there might be an interlocal. Les thought there might be.
For the gas,
On the fueling, do you think there's an agreement on the fueling?
No, there's not.
Oh, there's not.
I misspoke.
There's just a
There
non-recurring
is no-
fund.
I agree with Scott. I think there needs to be an agreement in writing on both
Okay.
aspects. If council-
But for now, we'll get that taken
Yeah.
care of. But for now, I'll call Bubby, tell him we're not working on any county vehicles until we get this agreement done. Is everybody good with that?
the gas one might be easier to do because I think we've got a set price in the non-reverting fund. If we could go ahead and get that one started now, so we can get
Oh, yeah,
that
well,
taken
Jake.
care of.
Okay.
Begin the discussion with him. I don't anticipate there being a problem. I agree with Cotty, at least in the fuel stand.
Mhm.
But,
Okay.
then try to report back to you at the next meeting.
Les, if
Okay.
you're going to talk to, can you just answer a simple question I have? Why in the world are we doing this? That's all I want to know, is why we are working on county vehicles. Can anybody answer that for me?
I think it's been going on a long time.
I understand that,
It's
but I
nothing
want to
new.
know why we're doing this, because do they not have a garage? Do they not have?
Well, they have a garage out on 403 or,
Way out on 403,
Yeah.
yeah.
but
They have a garage and mechanics that they use.
Do we do work for anybody else?
What do you
Live in
mean?
the county.
other county agencies?
I didn't know we did it for the county, now I found out we do
I
it for
know,
the county.
there's
School?
county police cars
No.
now.
Do you do it for any other entities?
We don't know.
I don't know, I'm just asking. I don't know.
I didn't know we stored salt for the schools, so that's a legitimate question.
Well, there's a service, we store salt for the schools. What else do we do?
All this stuff, just, I think Scott's even told us over, before, we do need to have some type of agreements, interlocal agreements to protect everybody involved.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal.
So do we need to make a motion on that?
I think we wait for Les to...
Wait until we get the,
Yeah, I think you've just given Les the direction to contact the county commissioners through Jack Elder.
and start working on an agreement.
Right.
I don't think that requires a motion.
But I mean, you talked about stop and work on the vehicles until then.
We don't have an agreement. We just need to tell Bubby we're
Hold
stopping.
up. Okay. That's fine.
But that should come from Les to talk to Bubby?
I mean, because
That's-
technically...
because
we don't control Bubba.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's probably a fair point.
Good.
I'll talk to
Okay.
Bubby.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Mr.
That
Vincent
may
sounds better.
sort of light a fire under the need for an agreement.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, next item, Les, is up. Resolution approving statement of benefits for proposed real estate tax abatement for Amitral.
In front of you is a resolution approving an abatement for Amitral. This comes before you upon the recommendation of the Redevelopment Commission pursuant to the local ordinance. This is a long-time business in the city of Jeffersonville. In fact, it's been here many years. Governor Pence recognized this business in his State of the State address earlier this year. Basically, to outline, it's a request for a 10-year real estate property abatement along with a 5-year abatement on personal property. The real estate improvements would total $2.2 million over that period, along with $1.3 million of personal property. Currently, Amitral employs 142 individuals at their operation here in Jeffersonville. This is an expansion to their existing facility. Not only will the expansion result in them bringing in more business, but also will result in additional 30 employees at their operation. Redevelopment Director Rob Ways is here, and I'll turn things over to him if you have any questions specifically. Also, here as well as Matt Hall from One Southern Indiana. Also, we have representatives from Amitral as well.
Thanks, Les. Have Matt Hall with One Southern Indiana. Matt?
Thanks, Rob. I'm here on behalf of one of our business retention and expansion clients, Amitral, and we are respectfully requesting the council support for this project through this resolution and the tax abatement. There are many reasons to support this project, some of which Les mentioned. I'll reiterate some of those. Amitral is a successful Jeffersonville business that's been here, was founded in 1978 with a global presence through a number of international locations. They have been an outstanding corporate citizen in Southern Indiana, and the President, Paul Perkins, has been an ideal community leader, giving back in more ways than I can count. I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about that. Amitral is a fiscally cautious company, so this is a methodically planned expansion project and not just a knee-jerk reaction to a market spike. They employ, as Les said, 142 of this community's citizens. They want to create 30 more jobs at an average wage of $22 an hour. That is far above the county average wage. The project would add 39,000 square feet for these at their existing 83,000 square foot facility at Northport. The project cost would be about $3.7 million. And I know that Paul is getting a little pressure, my word, not his, to put this project in one of their global locations. So we want Amitral to make that investment here. We want them to create those jobs here. So with that in mind, we would respectfully request the council support for this resolution. I'll let Paul talk a little bit about their company and business.
Great. Thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to come before you today, and I appreciate those of the council that had an opportunity to take time from their busy endeavors to come and visit us this past week. It was really a pleasure for me to host you, and for those of you that didn't get a chance to visit us, just to give you a little background on the company, we manufacture technical training equipment and computer-based learning software for teaching technical skills, and we sell our products to schools and industry that use them to train people in fields like energy, manufacturing, transportation, mainly for occupations in areas like maintenance technicians, operators, and engineers. Currently, we are experiencing quite a bit of growth due to some of the work that we've been doing over the last number of years to expand our efforts out into the international area, and we've had a lot of success with some of the products that we've developed in areas like green energy and industrial automation, and so we're needing to expand our operations, and as Matt said, the project is going to increase our capacity by about 50%, and as you consider our request, I hope that you'll take into account the community citizen that we've been over the last number of years. We bring over 1,000 people to Jeffersonville every year to visit our facilities, and most of them stay here at hotels in Jeffersonville, and we take them to dinner in Jeffersonville. We have been here for over 30 years. We've never laid anybody off. We've had a very stable employment picture, and that's something that we're pretty proud of. And we also have tried to give back to our community in a lot of ways. We participate on a lot of boards, the Clark Memorial Foundation, the Ivy Tech Foundation. I'm on the State Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, also chair of the Indiana State Workforce Innovations Council, which oversees all the WIBs for the state. We also sponsor and actually host a robotics camp for 8th graders from schools, Jeffersonville, Charlestown, and some other schools here in the immediate area to try and give them an idea of what the different kinds of jobs are in the world of technology, and so they spend 2 weeks at our facility. It's an expense that we bear solely. It's about $10,000 to run that, but it's something that we feel pretty strongly about. It actually relates very well to a lot of things that we do with schools all over the country, and here in our case, we felt that it was something that we needed to do for our local schools. So we've enjoyed being a member of the community and hope to do so for many years. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve 2014 R4.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Paul, we appreciate the invitation to come out, and you were a wonderful host.
Well, thank
Tell you
you.
that. Thank you.
As we brought up at that particular meeting there at Amatrol, they're also looking for another incentive that we brought up at the redevelopment, which was a training grant of $200,000, and it would be a matching training grant of what the state is putting together through IEDC. In order for us to process this and get it moving, city attorney advised me that we have to add this on to our project list, and then go through those particular steps. I would just like to maybe get a consensus how you guys would feel about the incentive, because I know that's a...
That's up to $200,000, and the state's money is going to be used first for that project.
Right.
What did you just say?
The state has offered $200,000 from the SEF grant, the Skills Enhancement Fund, and Jeffersonville has tentatively agreed to match up to $200,000.
Okay.
But they would utilize the state's money first.
Okay.
And basically, we need to amend the economic development plan, I assume, for Intercity Road to include this project. And obviously, any decision you make tonight is not binding on the council. It's like to have consensus and authorization for that process, because it's a lengthy process. It starts with redevelopment, goes to planning and zoning, then goes to the city council, and back to redevelopment, public hearing. So
And Matt, just clarify, with the money that we match, is there a time frame as to when this money has to be used?
Not necessarily. It's, the state typically does a 2-year training budget. So they're looking at over the next 2 years once this is implemented. So it would be, once Paul agrees that he accepts the state's incentive package, then we would look at a 2-year time frame from them.
And this is redevelopment dollars, you're just changing the plan, and we're approving the plan change, making...
Right, but we'll be bringing the plan to you guys, so we,
I just don't want to go through all the
I got you.
process of maybe...
Do you need some sort of
Do you need a
a
motion?
motion to go ahead? 'Cause we're fine with it.
If you would just give us authorization to
initiate
move forward with it.
I don't have an
I'm
issue
fine
with
with
it.
So moved.
I'll second to move forward.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Les, you're back up. Resolution approving statement of benefits for proposed real estate tax abatement for Menards.
Okay, Amatrol is an existing business. We move on to a new business, is Menards. This is a proposed project on Veterans Parkway. It's in a resolution before you to approve an abatement for the project. It's specifically on the real estate improvements over 10 years worth $9 million. The project would bring 50 new employees to Jeffersonville, resulting in nearly $2 million in salaries. And here with us today with Menards is Mike Simmons, who can discuss the specifics regarding the project.
Can I make a quick statement? On the resolution I received, it says 2013, you need to make that 2014.
When is this R5?
This one's 5-1.
Good evening, Mike Simmons with Menard Incorporated. Here before you, I know we've discussed this previously, and the Menard's intent to construct in the Jeffersonville Town Center. As Les had mentioned, the proposal is to bring roughly 50 full-time jobs to Jeffersonville and about 50 to 75 part-time jobs in addition to that, totaling about 120 or 130 jobs, with the salaries about $2 million. And I can answer any questions the council may have.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Did we say anything about NASCAR tickets? You're smiling.
Apologize.
Don't put that in the...
I'm just kidding. Well, he mentioned it, I just...
Yeah, I know. Any other discussion, other than NASCAR tickets? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
We're excited to have you.
We are excited to have you. All right. Les, introduction of public hearing. Notice of ordinance zoning map change for 2405 Utica Pike.
This is a ordinance that comes before you as a result of a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission to rezone a portion of Utica Pike, specifically 2405 Utica Pike, from R1 to a PUD R1. This is basically approving Perrin Point number 2, the second phase of Perrin Point, which about 10 years ago was Perrin Point number 1. And this, again, it comes before you with a favorable recommendation from the redevelopment, or the Planning Commission, and I think has a lot of support both in the community. And as you're very well aware, there is a large historical home there, and the plan is to save that home and include that in the proposed development. And I think Jimmy Johns is here and with his representatives with the development to explain more specifics regarding the proposal.
What are they going to do?
My name is Gary Brinkworth. I'm the consulting engineer with John G. Brinkworth, Inc. We're located on Charlestown Road in New Albany. We did design this with the help of an architect in Maine that is very good at projects like this, and Jimmy also used, what's the fellow's name? Greg Sekulis with the historical group, and we tried to put this together with the intention of saving the home. There was a lot of discussion prior to that whether they were going to try to save it or tear it down and maybe gain another couple lots, but the decision was to save it, and that's why they contacted Greg. So with their help, we developed this concept to save the house in the middle with common grounds in the back, common grounds below the house out toward Utica Pike, and it turned out well. There was no opposition at all at the Plan Commission meeting. I think one fellow got up and said something in the BZA meeting, but both were approved unanimously. We're here to get this passed through council tonight. If you have any questions, I'll also be here.
I want to say too, I've emailed you guys a couple of times. I've been to a couple of their meetings, and this kind of project makes our life a little easier, because in this process, they met with historic landmarks, as Gary said. They had planning and zoning out there. They had the neighborhood associations out there. They invited me out there. I kind of sent you guys some updates periodically on where they were with things, but you know, to have communication in the neighborhoods and with all the departments that are playing ball here, it really makes a big difference.
And I want to add to that too, because this is in my district, and I know the Parent Point, they're really appreciative because they have really worked well with them, and even the lady that spoke at Planning and Zoning, that I know Jimmy met with her specifically and worked with her, and I really appreciate that.
This is a public hearing.
We need to open a public hearing.
Open up the public hearing and public comment.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against this? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Motion to approve 2014 OR7.
A second.
Any other discussion? Mike, you got any other discussion?
No.
Okay. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
All those opposed? Good deal. Thank you, guys. Sure. All right, Les, you're back up.
Yep. This is another rezoning matter that comes before the council upon a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. This is in reference to property located at 1416 Spring Street that's currently zoned institutional. The request is to rezone this property to C2 for auto sales. The reason this needs to be rezoned is institutional does not allow auto sales, but one thing to point out, the adjacent property that will operate this business has been granted a variance to operate auto sales, but the property that's before you today does not allow that. And the petitioner is Dustin Stocksdale. Is there someone here? Okay, yeah. I think Mr. Sprigler's here to...
Where exactly is this?
This is in Claysburg, near the Spring Hill School.
And it's right behind the church that sits there, the property's right behind the
Between
church, which I think is
14th
because
and
it's
15th Street.
institutional.
On the east side.
Yes, my name is Chad Sprigler. I'm one of the partners in the group that bought the building. There's actually two. It's one building, but it's 1414 Spring Street and 1416 Spring Street. At one time, it housed an insurance company at 1414, and the next door was the restoration, the auto restoration company that went out of business in 2008. The previous owner pretty much let the property just go. He didn't do really any improvements to it since then. The inside the building is very nice. It's set up for an automotive business. We came before the Planning Commission in November to get it rezoned for the type of business we want to do at 1416, and we realized that the back lot is zoned different. I met with Shane and Dan both, and they said we need to go back in and get this rezoned properly to meet up with the rest of the property. We plan on going in put an 8-foot privacy fence, wood privacy fence around the perimeter of the property, and do some pine trees around the back to buffer. They don't plan on storing any cars there at all at any time, just in transition when a car goes into the shop to work. But the shop itself is around 8,000 square feet and can house quite a few cars inside. So that's the plan overall. But
So is this going to be a mechanic shop?
no, they actually sell cars, but they work on their cars themselves. They have their own mechanic crew and that stays inside the shop. They condition the cars themselves.
The only problem that I have with this, and this was brought up at Planning and Zoning, and I spoke to Mr. Merkley about it already, is that back lot, and it needs to be paved, there's going to be cars back there.
Okay.
And the only reason I'm bringing that up as Planning and Zoning, we have made everyone else do that. We made Clark County Auto Auction do it. They wanted to use gravel. I know we asked, Jack Vissing had a lot rented out here that was a car lot, and we told him that some of that needed to be paved, and I think we need to be consistent.
That's not a problem. The only thing that we were asking is maybe give us some time frame, just because if you see the building, it needs a lot of work. We're planning on going in and doing the facade when the weather breaks. So possibly if we could give like a year to maybe get in and do those improvements, and then, or whatever, we're trying to do so much at a
The
time.
one thing I'm trying to fit,
What I would recommend, and we've done this in the past, to expedite this issue, I think what we can do is that the property owner can agree to sign a stipulation, a written stipulation, that they would pave the property. Obviously, the timeframe would be dependent on what was reasonable in circumstances.
When are they going to open?
The building's already been purchased, and they're working inside, but they haven't done anything until we get the proper approvals
I see.
from you. So they've been inside, just kind of just doing some work inside, but nothing majorly has been done yet.
But I mean, what would be your estimated date of starting your operation of putting cars for sale?
We want to do the facade, get in and do the facade, and really once this weather breaks, I'm planning on starting right away. We're going to come in and paint the whole building, put a new awning in the front. The deck, the siding on it's kind of rotten off now. The gutters are hanging off, redoing all that. So
Well, they could do the paving by the end of the summer, I guess.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Are they planning on operating June 1st, August 1st, whatever? They may, with the construction, they may not be, they may not open for operation until August 1st.
just because of all the costs of everything, that's why I suggested maybe giving us a little bit of time, just because we're wanting to get that front facade
Yeah, I
looking.
don't really want to give a year because we tend to forget and then it never gets done. So I would prefer...
What about the end of this year?
Well, it'd have to be done
Before the weather
then because
gets-
the weather gets bad.
They'll quit
We can't
doing
finish.
asphalt.
You can say October 1, 2014, that gives them
Right.
6-7 months to get it done.
Okay.
And kind of lets them work
Okay
on
with
the
that?
facade, get it
That's- I
done.
think it's fair, yes.
October.
I'm familiar with
And
the
also,
property,
that's
so
what
I'll
we
be
plan on
watching.
doing
So you
anyway.
can do,
What I would suggest is that your motion be to approve the rezoning condition upon a voluntary stipulation by the petitioner to pave the lot by October 1 of this year.
So moved.
Yeah, because
all right, we need to open a public hearing on this prior to the motion, so
Rescind.
hold your motion. Anybody here to speak for or against? Seeing none, we'll close it. Now we can take a motion. All right, and we did have a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All those or any other discussion?
Now, my only comment would be, I'm familiar with the project, and it was on the front of it was an insurance agency, because that's where my agency, my
remember that.
gentleman was, right. And then behind it was an auto restoration place, and the majority of the property zoned properly. The only piece is a piece in the rear that you see that's institutional. I think with the work they're going to do with the building, cleaning up the facade, and I think it's going to be an improvement. The building went down pretty quick, and I think it will be an improvement, especially with the fence in the back.
I have no doubt.
And I will monitor this and let you guys know, because I'm by there frequently, if it gets paved or not.
Yeah. Okay. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Aye. One opposed. Okay, Les, busy guy tonight. Zoning map,
This is a Another
Riverside Drive.
rezoning matter that comes before you upon the favorable recommendation of the Planning Commission. This is in reference to property located at 130 Riverside Drive. This is in reference to a proposed restaurant that's going to be there, which is Olive Leaf. Does this also include Flat 12?
Yes.
Who's being?
Is this for Flat 12? Okay, this is for Flat 12, which is a brewery that's going to be locating here in Jeffersonville, which is presently in Indianapolis, and my attorney friends in Indianapolis highly recommend this, but they're lawyers, so if it's a brewery, they do recommend them. So currently, this property is zoned neighborhood commercial. The request is to make this downtown commercial. Under neighborhood commercial, this establishment could operate upon a special exception. It was believed or thought it would be a best way to handle this in planning and zoning instead of going for a special exception was to merely just rezone this property because this is an area that's in all likelihood is going to be trending more toward commercial as opposed to residential with the development of the Big Four Bridge. Again, this is a recommendation to rezone that, and the building is owned by Mr. Sprigler, and he's here to answer any questions that you have. And this is a public hearing.
Thank you very much.
So you go from restaurant to auto sales, huh?
The Flat 12 company, the president and CEO, Sean O'Connor, couldn't be here because of the weather. But Flat 12 is a great company. They're moved into the fifth state, which is Kentucky. They're planning on taking the large warehouse next to Olive Leaf Bistro and the smaller warehouse that sits behind it as well. Their plan is to put a restaurant in the front. We plan on going in and put a new facade on that front of that warehouse with a deck and a type of glass garage doors that open up. And then in the rear of that building, they're going to brew, and the plans even to start distilling as well. Have a type of bourbons and different things that their company's starting to go into now. So they're really wanting to bring a lot in to the building and to the area. They met with Rob and different ones with the city already, and we feel it's a pretty good project. So I hope I can answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Ed smiling.
Well, I've been to their location. I could vouch that I think it's going to be a great location downtown the river for us to have in Jeffersonville. With that, do we have to do that?
We need to open a public hearing. Anybody to speak for or against this? 130 Riverside Drive. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion. What's the number?
9.
Make a motion that we pass ordinance 2014-09.
Second.
Well, we got a bunch of people wanting to second this one.
Yeah,
Yeah, bourbon and...
They like their beer.
Any other discussion?
Come on.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Amy Deering, thank you. We look forward to getting them open.
We look forward to it too. They're wanting to move pretty quickly on it, so.
Good.
Excellent. They have really good food too.
Do they?
For the Americana type food.
What you have before you here is another ordinance of additional. This is up for first reading tonight.
Can you kind of like walk through it?
Sure. What we have, the first 4 items were actually corrections to the original budget. We had budgeted the salary and some of the items for this person a little lower than what they were currently making. So this is just bringing them up to where they were. The edit item is for a vehicle lease that was not, I think it was paid well in advance, so we didn't budget for it for this year because we didn't know it existed. So it's coming due next week, I believe.
Who's that? What's
It's Bubby's vehicle.
Bubby's.
Why would that come from edit?
Yeah, why is that coming
Is
from
that the
edit?
That's
truck?
where almost all the capital lease payments are budgeted.
No,
That was former Mayor
Mayor
Oh,
Callen's truck.
that's right. That's,
Oh, yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but we used to have one lease here, just the mayor's. Now we have two, because we're still paying the mayor.
Yes, correct.
So are we expanding that then? Do we have other leases that are coming too that we're going to pay from?
Well, how long is that lease?
I
Any
don't
idea?
know that.
From what I'm understanding, she said this lease has already been in effect, and she wasn't aware of it. This is a previous lease that wasn't budgeted.
It
out
was
of
his
that.
vehicle.
Because it had been paid, I don't know,
Well in
16
advance.
months or something.
It was the mayor's.
It was the mayor's vehicle.
So as we get a new mayor, you don't pass off the previous
The
mayor's
vehicle.
vehicle to the new mayor?
Well, but I think he bought it interim, sounds like, because I remember discussing this in the beginning of
He had a
2012.
diesel Dodge truck and Moore didn't want it. He bought
Too
a
big. He didn't want it.
black Chevy
Don't think it should
SUV
come out of edit.
vehicle.
I-
That's what happened.
Do you want to pull it from edit?
To me, I don't think edit's the appropriate place to pay for it.
I'm not even sure, I'd have to go back and look, but typically these kind of expenditures are paid for that.
What happened is, this is one of the things that when we sent out the email, Amy sent out the email and we've talked, this is one of the things that has happened that we are trying to correct now, is we were not getting copies of the leases. So, I didn't have a record of the lease, Amy didn't have a record of the lease, and therefore, the spreadsheet that we had did not reflect it, because we didn't even know about it. And I think the last controller had paid it early, and Amy was not aware of it, so therefore it never got budgeted for this year. And prior to that, after looking at it, if I'm not mistaken, it was being paid out of edit.
I'm not 100% sure, but they typically are, so yeah.
Well, I'm sure it was paid out of edit before because it was the mayor's vehicle before. It's no longer the mayor's vehicle. That's what we pay out of edit. That's the lease, the only lease that we should have.
Normally, the department vehicles we buy them.
They don't, yeah, that's
We don't lease them.
Right.
Yeah.
And the mayor's vehicle, I think, was the exception. It's always been that way, but I would like a little more clarification on that particular thing myself.
I don't think Bubby's driving that truck, is he?
I don't have any idea.
I think he is.
I think he is.
Are you sure?
Maybe somebody in his department.
Isn't that the truck that has the lights in it?
Are we talking about the truck that was driven up prior mayor?
Yes.
Yes.
It's my understanding that went to, I think,
Sewer. I don't think Bubby's
That's
got
not the one
that.
Bubby's driving.
It's not?
It was the
Why don't
white-
we get some clarification
Yeah, the
on
white
that one
Dodge,
item,
diesel,
Okay.
short
so we
bed
could
you're
pull
all
that
talking
one
about.
out?
And
I'll make a
That Bubby
motion
had
to
it for a
approve
while, but he
ordinance
let go.
2014 OR 10 on the first reading with the removal of the vehicle under edit.
What's the rest?
Okay.
Can we go through the rest of the?
Sure. The remaining
I'll second.
items are based on the fire contract, bringing them up, so that's the parity items. I think we knew these were going to have to be approved at some point.
Okay.
These are contractual.
That's right.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
I put this one on, 10th Street medians. We read, I guess everybody read in the paper the other day that redevelopment was not going to maintain the islands on 10th Street. The contract is up, and I guess we can't do a contract here at the council. So we need to discuss what we're going to push that on to parks, send it back to redevelopment.
Well, I don't think it's up to us to push it on anything. This was a redevelopment project, and they can't say they're just not going to take care of it.
I understand, but
And it's not parks, and our street department cannot do it. They'll just
Street
go whack
department can't
everything
do it.
down, because they're not gardeners, and it would take too much of their time, and the Parks Department would have to hire someone else in,
We'd have to have another batwing mower.
Is the,
so
no, we got rid of
this
the
is
grass.
something that I think redevelopment needs to decide what they're gonna do. You can't make it, that would be like the Parks Department saying, we're tired of this contract, it's done, we're gonna pass it off to redevelopment. You can't do that.
I kind of agree. This was a redevelopment project. And to say, what was it, in the paper? Was it
Yes, it
pushed
was
on
in
the
the
council?
paper.
I'm
I
gonna,
don't disagree with any of that, but what I think what Dennis is saying is that contract is up, and redevelopment has said they're no longer spending money. So we, as as a council or as an administration or whoever has to say, we're going to do this with the medians, or we're going to do that with the medians, we're not going to do anything with the medians.
But it's not our project.
No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying.
And it's redevelopment, and they need to, they're the ones who put it in, and they need to continue.
Let me throw, oh, go ahead, Mark.
The Parks Department doesn't own the property
No.
down the median of 10th Street, so
No.
really, we don't have anything to discuss until something's brought to us.
Right.
If there's no contract, there's no contract. The city, I mean, we'll have to figure out how to upkeep the medians, but that's not going to be our function. That's not our position.
That's an executive decision.
Who was the contract with originally? Who paid it?
Redevelopment.
And they decide now they don't want to? Or-
They put a 2-year maintenance contract
Right, I'm just
out.
saying, though, but they paid it, now it's
and they're
over.
They're saying they don't want
They
it.
don't
Let me throw a different twist on it, just for discussion's sake. We're spending a lot of money on public art in Jeff. I would offer up the idea that the median, the landscaping, could fall under that category of landscape art. We pay for that at other places, down at River Stage. And to me, so much effort has gone into the medians. It's a shame to walk away and just let them die. I know last October I met with Les Markley and the mayor and said, what's our plan for next year? I'm part of the 10th Street Business Association. They want it. We want it. The many folks I talked to want it. They want changes because of the height of some of the grasses, but I think for us just to say, well, it's not our problem, I would hope that we would try to lead. If we realize there's nobody going to lead, that rather than walking away, we would try to lead on it. And before we just throw our hands up because the administration has said, we're done with it, we're not going to handle it, we ought to at least try to come up with some solutions. And I would even be willing to try to help lead out to come up with solutions before we walk away. That's just another take on it.
I just don't know that we have the functionality to
Right.
do so.
And I think saying it's an art, I understand what you're saying, but I think that's kind of pushing people's definition of art.
What about adopt a median in the highway? We have adopt a highways, maybe some of the businesses will adopt the median.
Well, I don't want to belabor this point because I agree with what Matt's saying is it's really not under our control, but you're going to get to a certain point that if you don't do something, they're going to become a public safety issue as they continue to grow. So you're almost going to get to a point where if you don't act, they become a public safety issue. They're going to come to Board of Public Works for that, and what's our response?
Wasn't that built with TIF dollars
Yes,
and maintained with TIF dollars?
yes.
I mean, originally?
Yes.
Then I don't know why it wouldn't be continued. I mean, I don't, that's the part I don't get. And I agree with Connie, it's like, it's like any other piece of property we have to maintain it. It was maintained with TIF dollars and continue with TIF dollars. And I agree with Nathan, though, we can't stick our head in the sand, so, I don't know.
What's the long-term plan for 10th Street, the widening project? What does the median look like?
It doesn't go that far.
Doesn't go that far.
Doesn't go that far.
Stop for
Okay. When I was in Boston, I actually saw, this came to, I don't know why, I didn't realize we were going to have this discussion today, but I saw some great work that was done in medians that had pavers. Just, you don't have to cut the grass, you don't have to do anything. And they'd have these pavers up to a point, and then they'd have art or trees, islands of something nice. But most of it was pavers along the way, so the maintenance was really low. I'm sure the cost was kind of high on the upside, but it looked really classy, it looked really nice, and it was low maintenance type stuff.
The only thing about that is you've got to have, there's drainage issues in those, and I think that there has to be, then you're going to have to put in pipes and...
Just throwing out what I saw in some other communities that, I don't know if we've ever thought about doing something like that, but.
I think it's definitely something, it's definitely a conversation we can help facilitate, but how the city moves forward is not going to be up to us.
What is it, the annual maintenance? Do we know roughly?
200.
How much?
I think we got a quote today.
I just roughly, I would,
64.
See, you were able to take out the wage out of it.
Prevailing wage.
Prevailing
It was under
wage.
70.
So that really dropped it down a lot.
It was under 70.
64 sticks in my mind.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what we're talking.
I think it's a good idea, Nathan, what you mentioned, at least for a section, have the arts to adopt a section and see what they can come up with somewhere. Maybe not the whole length, I think that's a stretch, but having a section, I think that could be interesting.
Well, the thing that we need to decide rather quickly, because you're going to have chemicals that are going to need to go down and things cut off in the very near future, we need to decide if we're going to push this back to redevelopment or what we're going to do.
I think it is redevelopment.
Yeah, we
I don't
can't
know
make
if
a
there's
contract
any
with
question
chemicals on or hire
We're
people.
not, as you know,
We
other
can't
than
do
your
it.
attorney, you're not a contracting authority.
That's exactly right.
Someone from the city to
That's what I
say.
said. We can't.
Nathan, will you take that lead on that?
That's just incorrect. You
Okay.
can't contract for maintenance.
I mean, I just need to know what to tell them. Just say we can't.
We're not a contracting body and the parks don't own it.
Hire people to,
So-
Even the arts committee, Nathan, even if the arts committee wanted to do that, the arts
They can't-
committee, it's not a statutory contracting authority either, you know.
Sure.
There could be money allocated, but then there's stuff to be another contracting authority, typically the Board of Public Works and whatnot, to enter into a contract, even if the arts wants it to somehow help with funding or whatever.
To clarify, I was not trying to put it under the arts. I was just saying, we're spending money to improve.
You almost got it.
To raise the bar, I guess, for our city. And I think that can be, it is beautiful and it can be beautiful. It's got its drawbacks, which I think everybody realizes. But if somebody would take the lead and say, let's just modify this and keep it, it'll cost us $50,000 to $75,000 to do that probably. But it's going to cost to bulldoze it up and it's going to cost to maintain it. So it's just what do we want, I think is what it is.
If the council goes to make a recommendation or a request,
Sure.
there's no binding authority that the council can make on
No.
maintenance of property that.
So I think that would be your
I'll take it back to
intro.
redevelop.
All right, number 11, Mike, you were talking about Thunder vendors.
Yeah, we had a conversation at the Parks Authority meeting about the 600 block of West Riverside Drive, and of course, there were some concerns, and I brought them concerns up at the Parks Authority about the vendors, and I think most of you are aware, even with the bridge construction, it's going to be havoc down there for the next 3 years anyway. And in the conversation, Dennis had brought up about going into the 700 block or the 800, which would be in front of the Sheraton or the parking lot on West Riverside Drive. So there are some options available.
I have something I've been thinking of. I wouldn't mind if it got moved down in front of the Sheraton. But the other thing is this, they want to drop their cost by, was it $13,000, something like that? Sarah said it was $23,000, they want to drop it down to $10,000, the vendor, because he's not been making money there. Then we probably need to drop the amount of vending, because I don't know how many vendors they have, but that's all spelled out in the contract. Because we're not going to have room for them with the
Did she get her
bridge.
other quote, Connie?
I don't know. But I know if she gets her other quote, we probably need to drop the amount of vendors down since we're doing a new contract and say we don't have as much room because we don't have the area under the bridge, which is where most of them were.
Yeah, I think that was a point too, is we had a really large spot under the bridge. And that's all heavy equipment construction, so it's a mess. But the neighbors I've talked to the neighbors, of course, that live there, and there's multiple issues, multiple concerns, and so the Parks Authority unanimously passed to move it on to here to discuss and vote on adding an amendment or changing our ordinance.
Yeah, it'd have to be an amendment to the ordinance.
To the ordinance, it'd be the 600 block,
Discussion was-
because there are certain areas now along Riverside Drive where vendors are not allowed, and there's some areas where they are allowed. This would add the 600 block into the area that would not be allowed for vendors. Just of it.
Les, if you could check with Sarah about this contract, and I don't know how many were in the original. I was part of that when it was first signed. I'm thinking 30.
I think 30 was the number.
You might want to get with the fire because they say how many you can have, how close they have to be, and come up with a number. And we just might want to drop the amount of vendors that they can have since we're out of space because of the new bridge. And then in 3 years, whenever it's done, we can always go back and it can be redone and brought back. But it's just a thought.
That'll have to be adjusted.
Mike, is 600 block, is that Harvard?
Yes. It's one block really from the bridge to River Point, kind of that area right there. And one thing, Les, that was discussed, and I make it a point to be there, is first it wasn't commercial. If you remember early on, there was no kingfish or nothing. It was all open. But when they built that, then they fenced in, and now the fence has kind of worked itself out into the street area. And what's happening is a lot of stuff is being pushed north onto the sidewalks and stuff, and it is, I mean, it's a problem. And that was the discussion, so. So I'll make a motion then, if, I guess, make a motion that we add the 600 block of West Riverside Drive in front of the harbors to be an amendment to our ordinance to prohibit vendors in that one section.
So you're going to allow them, or you're not going to allow them in front of the harbors?
Not allow.
Okay.
And that wording will state that. It'll just be, again, the ordinance has...
There's a motion basically to bring back an ordinance at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
to have
what
that
it
one
needs
block
to
put
be
in.
brought back.
Yeah.
The ordinance spells out whether areas are prohibited or not.
Yeah.
There's an existing so-called thunder ordinance.
There is.
So your motion would be, you're making a motion to come back.
You need to get that to Sarah, though, pretty quick, to her.
Yeah, we need to get that because she needed to get she was signing, looking at the contract with him like soon, so you need to talk to her tomorrow, as soon as you can. Savoy, yeah.
She was looking at 2 or 3
But
options.
yeah, she said she had some.
There were several she was looking at that wanted to enter into a contract and different pricing, but she was going to look into it.
We got a second. Any other?
For the people who weren't here at the Parks Authority meeting, basically, I don't know if you all read the minutes or anything, but basically the people at the harbors, the residents that live there are upset about vendors being in front of the harbors.
Right.
So they just want to restrict that.
And I kind of have a problem with all vendors being removed because that, even on Riverside Drive, because that is our venue area whenever anything big happens. But, I mean, they have buckheads and kingfishers across from them, and they put up the huge tents, and they put the chain link thing out so only certain people can get in, so it's already blocked. People go on the sidewalks, they set up, the sidewalks are blocked anyway because people, they stake out their claims where they're going to be for the fireworks, and they will come and they put their chairs down and their blankets down. I mean, it's because the street is closed, and it's, you know, so I'm really conflicted about it.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, we've had vendors there for years. These people knew what they were getting into when they bought a condo there. They knew that there was going to be thunder there one day a year, every year, just one day. It's not too much to deal with, I wouldn't think. At least it wouldn't bother me if I lived there. But I guess I understand, so I'm honestly don't even know how I'm going to vote right now.
Well,
To give you a little background, I wrote the ordinance when I was on the city council, and I believe originally it was no vendors at all along there. And I think subsequent to my leaving the council, I think it's amended to allow the vendors.
I think what happened, because Les makes a good point, when before the commercial properties were there, the vendors there was more activity on the south side of the street because there was no fence. It was all open. As a matter of fact, you had a parking lot or an area kind of where buckheads and kingfish now, but that was just a big, huge open space after they tore the properties down. And then what's happened is as we went commercial, then they started, I guess, leasing out their properties, and they started installing these tents. But the fence is walking north. Well, that's pushing everything north. And it's not, and what Connie says is true, but it's not just necessarily the people and their seating. It's also the waste and the garbage and the grease and the generators. A lot of them have generators, little portable jobs that they run, and of course you got the fumes from that. So it's really, I mean, you have that everywhere when you have that type of vendor. Most vendors have their own portable units. So it's actually a little, it's a combination of all the above.
Well, Mike,
And,
I know you had said you attended some meetings with was that well attended, those meetings with the Arbor? I mean, is it,
The Harbor's, the police didn't show, but the tenants did, yes.
so there was the majority of the tenants that
Well, it was
voiced
their
this?
board. I don't know if it was a majority of the tenants, I don't know how many lived there, but it was their
board
board.
unanimous?
Pardon me?
Was their board unanimous, or were there?
Well, yeah, well, they brought it to my attention.
Okay.
Do we need to vote
I'm acting
I guess
on
so.
their request.
Any other discussion?
Just to bring it back to next meeting, right?
Yeah, to add this language to the,
That's
or,
the motion.
Yeah.
Bring it back to the next meeting.
okay.
Any other? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Motion carries. All right, Scott, you got anything to report?
I have nothing for tonight.
Okay. Nobody signed up for public comment, so we have council comment. Mr. Smith.
The only comment I had, I got an email from County Council Person Kevin Vissing, and I guess, Les, maybe at the department head meeting, you could pass this on. They're going to have a PERF workshop, Public Employee Retirement Fund PERF workshop, March 18th from 1 to 3:30 at the Jeff Library. I don't know if you were familiar with that. Okay, and I don't know if, it'd be hard for the department employees, but maybe the department heads could attend that. And I don't know what kind of changes they're going to make, but anyway, it's March 18th. It's at the Jeff Library, and it's a PERF workshop, so I just wanted to...
It's for people who are going to be retiring, or who's looking at retiring, and it's going to go through what the new state statutes are.
Okay. So if department heads, I don't know if you could pass it on.
It's not really
Okay.
administrative.
I'm not sure what all it is, but that's all I have. Thank you.
No comment.
Zach?
I just wanted to point out that with these two tax abatements that we approved today, we just approved 150 roughly new jobs in Jeffersonville, and I'm very excited about that. I'm happy that Menards is coming here and Amatrol is expanding.
I just want to make a request that Les at the department, yeah, he's like, me again? At the department head meeting, if you could just tell everyone there, because I know Emir, I know fire, I know police, I know street department, all met 8:30 Sunday morning. And, I mean, they got way ahead of this storm. They all worked very well together, and just to give them a big old thank you on behalf of the council. And I know I called street department several times today, and everything was handled. They got very minimum calls with complaints, so they did a job well done.
Fran? Thank goodness we didn't have the weather.
Just echo what Lisa said, the street department did a really good job staying on top of things. Police and fire and safety all met. We really have a lot of people to be proud of and stay on top of what they do around our city. Also, wanted to mention, I learned today of the passing of local artist David Smith, somebody I met a couple of years ago, and he was, like I said, a local artist and contributed a lot to some of the local art competitions that we had around town. Actually, one of his paintings is hanging in Kim's office. It's of one of the covered bridges of Indiana, and I tried to get here today to bring it down to show you all, just so everybody could see. But she was already gone by the time I got in. But just something to be thoughtful about.
Just quick updates on art. The berm that's right here, that's a half a block long, the RFP either has gone out or is about to go out, and we should see something happening there, hopefully still yet this spring. Utility boxes Phase 2 is coming this spring / early summer. Some new crosswalk art will be coming this spring. We're about to do the RFPs for downtown.
That's generating a lot of positives.
Good. We've been asked by redevelopment to help coordinate and select some new benches downtown and bike racks that as you come off the Big 4 Bridge. So we're working on looking at that, particularly on Chestnut right there, and the bike racks will go all around. This Thursday night at 6 o'clock, right here in this room, Scott Irick, who is an artist who does It's called Earthship Work. You can Google it. We're having something called Community Talk, and he's going to talk about structure, a bench, actually a large bench he's going to do. It's already paid for. It's he's going to talk about that, get some community input, but that's this Thursday at 6 to 8. And my last comment or statement is, I've asked Andy Crouch to come to our next meeting, March 17th, to give us an update on the sidewalk master plan. So
Nathan,
that kind of drops off our radar sometimes, just trying to keep it on there.
what am I gonna have to do to get some of that utility artwork in my district?
You'll get it.
Great.
Actually, we're going to do, if the gentleman will yield some more time to me, we're going to, the idea is to get at least 10 boxes, if not more, and I was going to ask every council member for one location in their district, and then ask the mayor if he has a box he'd like to do or a location he'd like to do. And potentially we can do more. It just depends on the funding, but I'll be talking to you soon. To be looking for the box.
Great.
That's all, Dennis.
I just wanted to say that we went out to Amatral last week with One Southern Indiana, great meeting. Paul was here today. The other one that I scheduled after we gave a tax abatement last month was Voss Clark. I contacted Joe Rudia, I think it was me, who all went?
Matt, me, and Connie. you.
Connie, yeah. And I plan on doing some more of those this year, you know, getting a hold of companies that, you know, are good stewards of Jeffersonville, trying to get out and get I think they enjoyed as much as we do.
Well, and
So-
Dennis, that was very beneficial to go out. I didn't even know Amatron was there. I don't know what they did, and we went out there and actually saw where
Yeah.
they had no place else to go, and it was very helpful to go out and see what they did, meet the people, and,
Well, if there is a company that you all would recommend that you want me to contact, I'm more than happy to. So, that's it. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.